even you, when you sit with yourself, the person you are in 2020 is not the person that you are in 2025. So why would you expect somebody else to be exactly the same way? I feel like there's room for speaking what's happening. There's room for adapting to what we are becoming. And there's room for, just as you said, appreciating that if in this season you're not here and Dani, but next season you are, that's okay.
We are saying extend grace, but you have the one who always reaches out.
Yeah, it becomes exhausting.
Ukichoka, it's fine to pause. Yeah. If you want to have a conversation, it's fine. We can have a conversation and decide that this is not something that's working anymore. I think the thing that we do, why even breakups with friendship breakups also hurt quite a bit, is because we don't give each other the same grace.
Hi guys, so the Galentines edition was so lit that we needed to do a part 2 because the conversations were going so well and there was so much to talk about. So we decided to just be able to have a part 2 so that we can give you ample time to listen in and completely appreciating, the time that we have and the time that we allocate to the podcast as well. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 2 of the Galentines edition. All right guys, let's have some fun. You can join us, answer these questions, and you can put them pale chini in the chat box, in the chat. Because of us guys using Zoom a lot, we're always talking about the comments. In the comments section. All right. So I want to ask you guys some fun hypothetical questions. So let's see. If you were invisible for a day, what's the first thing you would do?
Okay. Mine is so juvenile because I've just thought of going to Chandarana, Nibe sweets.
Wow.
Yeah, but let me think of an actual answer.
No, but I mean, Wambo, I think for me, and I'm with you, I would go to a supermarket and eat the hot dog without paying for it first. Because why do I normally need to go queue there to pay first? The same way, I want to go with the 5-liter oil and go with it without paying. What's the difference with a hot dog? Yeah. So nizenda nikule hapo na wanioni. Nikule alafu niende.
Yeah, I think for me, I'd join people in their road trips, in their travel plans. So kidogo mi niko hapo in the air na niko Qatar business class na mjui. Yeah.
I think for me the
on my way to Paris.
Mimi naweza kwa hapo Kilimanjaro, summit because na fly na summit na mnioni, so ninafika tu hapo juu without having to climb from the beginning, without having to prepare sijui by climbing or summiting like 8 other animals. Yeah. Okay, the second one. If you could be any age forever, what age would you choose and why?
Interesting. Bueno.
I randomly, just top of my head, I think I would be like 40, between 42 and 45. And why is just because, the way, from the experiences I've seen from the people who are older than me who have turned 40, like you just don't give a... Yeah, and you live your life the way you want to live it in your own terms. I feel like between maybe 20s and 30s, there's a lot of trying to be impressionable, trying to just sound politically correct. But I think when people get to 40, there's a level, when people say life begins at 40, I think something changes and you're just like, you know what, I'm living my life truthfully, honestly, candidly, the way I want to live it. So up 42 to 45.
Funny enough, I was gonna say 35 because I feel like 35 is where that would kick in for me. So so 35, maybe 35.
Yeah.
Maybe 35. It's like a sweet spot for me. Yeah.
I think for me, I'd say the year that I am now, only because that I don't know maybe what life maybe at 50, at 60, at 70 or at 80 would look like. But the reason as to why I say so, I feel like by the time I was becoming an adult, 18 and 19, I remember just being riddled with a lot of anxiety about the future. What does the future have in store for me? Where do I even begin? Even especially when you're done with, with Campo, and then you're like, now what's the next step? What should I be doing in my life? And I remember even there was a time I was even complaining to a friend, like where I was at the time. I was like, I needed to have done more, I needed to have accomplished more, and I'm like, you know, what is the wrong thing that I am doing that is preventing me from being where I need to be, or where I thought that I needed to be. So I feel like also, like especially my early 20s and my late teens, I feel like I had so much anxiety about the future, you know. But right now I feel like I'm kind of settled to who I am right now. I have a rough idea about where I want, you know, my future to be like, and I've known how to even tame my anxieties. So I think where I am is a really good place to be.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Okay, the last one. If you had to pick a new talent to be born with, what would it be?
Singing.
Even me. Let me tell you.
Just because I can't sing doesn't mean I won't sing.
Yeah, I know.
Now, if it would help, if you could sing, definitely.
Even me, it would definitely be singing, but I feel like I would be so vain. I think God just knows how to. And I'd be singing everywhere, and when people annoy me, I sing the response to them just so they can even get triggered. And you know, it sounds so good, yeah. And just listening, you're like, oh my God, that's like melodical, and I'm just there singing everything. But I would be vain. So maybe that's why.
I would be super vain. Like if I woke up tomorrow and I can sing,
everywhere. I know.
For somewhere else to go. Yeah.
What about
for me is dancing.
Okay.
I know I have 2 left feet, but I feel like when I dance and the moment that I do in my house, or even with people that I dance with sometimes, like I feel it's one of the way that I reconnect with my inner child. It's a form of play. You know, I feel like sometimes, you know, with adulting, it's a lot, it's exhausting, but I feel like in what ways can you still play as an adult? And I feel for me, like dancing, you know, you know, like you should see me in my house trying to, you know, learn all these dance moves. And I really enjoy it. And I could be in my house. I've been practicing choreography for the last 1 or 2 hours. Imagine.
Wow.
Yeah, just to get
that's pretty serious.
Yeah, so that would be that for me.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies and guys. Feel free to have fun with us on the comment section. Let us know what are some of the things. How would you answer the questions if it were you? It would be really nice to get feedback from you as well. All right, Wangari, over to you.
So we've talked about the importance of female friendships, and which also means that even as we move into the future, we'd also want to maybe create new friendships, you know, and strengthen the connections that we already have. So my question is, what are some of the strategies that you've put in place, maybe to have new friends, maybe when it comes to your female friendships? When was the last new friendship that you made? Where did you guys meet? Because I know people would want to expand their friendships group, or even just the kind of female friends that you have, but where do you begin? Which conversations do you where do you look?
Yeah, I think we had talked about this when we were at when does that? I don't remember this place.
We've known where Wambogo. So next time, if you're looking for a new female friend, you know where to meet Wambogo.
It's because they're both people's names.
Okay.
Anyway, we were to Njuguna, we talked about this before, and I feel like part of 2025 things I want to do is like grow friendships and make more female friends. So the way we have made my female friends that I've had currently is just being in spaces where they are, just going out, going out to events and meeting them at events. Sometimes they are female only events that I've been to. That are really fantastic places to meet people. I've also made friends like through other friends, like I said earlier. I've made friends who are friends of friends, and then we became closer because now we find things that we have in common. I think the last friendship I made, I remember how we met, but we've grown closer over a year. She was a friend of a friend actually, but we've become really close over the past in 2024, and I think I need to explore more of those. Like if I can have like someone you didn't know and then they become really close to you, and they become even part of almost of your daily routine. Like you talk to them almost all the time, constantly texting, constantly sending each other reels, sending each other TikToks. I really want to expand that in my 2025 and make more female friends like that. Yeah.
I think for me, and this is something that we've talked even with my friends about, is don't move through life with a closed heart. And even when you think about even the solid friendships that I have, one is with you, and also another one is with Juliet, and I met them at work. Both of them, I met them at work. And I know we are always, there's this myth that is perpetuated that your colleagues are not your friends, and which is true and false at the same time, because I feel like you need to practice discernment just to know who is for you and who's not for you. And this applies to the workplace and also in life, in general. So I've found for me that just being open to wherever the relationship will take you has been beneficial to me. So if at all I'd have the mentality of I can't be friends with my colleagues, then I would have missed out with with a good friendship. And also this counter racks what we've just said. I feel in as much as I'd want new friends in my life, I also feel like I am open just to have conversations and connections with people. I'm not looking to recruit friends. I feel like even the people that I just met randomly, and then we just had a conversation about our love for books, and then we just started talking about life matters, and things just morphed from that. And just to think about it, you cannot recruit friends. So sometimes just for you being open, and having open energy, open heart, and if you just I feel like your community will find you, and you will find your community.
If it happens, it happens.
If it happens, it happens. So I think at the end of the day, I think what anchors that is that you are open, and whatever God puts in your hand, pursue that.
Wow. So for me, as I mentioned, I have already several groups. So and in 2024, some thrived and maybe some were more silent. So currently where I am at, I mean, if I do make a new friend, and just what you said, if we find ourselves in the same energy, same wavelength, and we become friends, that's absolutely fine. But I think for me, what I would like to do better in 2025, that I probably struggled with a bit in 2024, I feel like 2024 was a lot of growth and intensity, and so maybe I didn't give as much room to friendships than I would have wanted to. So I think what I would do, I mean, even as, if the new friends come and find me, great, but I would like to do a lot of work on the friendship side of things in 2025. So whether it's the group dynamic, whether it's individuals, whether it's a little bit of both, whichever way that we can, that I intentionally also work on being present and being available, and again also extending myself grace, because let me tell you, sometimes you sit and you feel, and one of my friends recently, and a very good friend of mine, and we hadn't talked in a while, and the way so I'm an anxious attachment type, something that I am constantly working on healing from, and so I just sat and I'm like, hiya, why haven't you talked to me? And I was in my head a little bit, so I just sent them a message, and I think that's the best thing about communication. I'm like, I feel like it's been a while, and Kwani, what's happening? Is there something maybe that I might have said or done? And she's like, oh my god, I don't even know how you would think that. It's just been life, like work has been crazy. But I think what I loved the most, and she said some affirmations and some reassurances, and what I loved the most about that message was, number one, that I have a safe space that I can ask if anything is happening, and number two, that my friend is available enough to just reassure and be like, imagine, no, everything is working out, it's just this and the other, and number three, that I could take that information and believe it, and not think there's anything that's left or anything that's hanging, and we continue with business as usual. That was such a precious time. So new friends, if you find me, imagine, here I am. I am happy to, but also old and current, let me not call them old, let me call them current friends. I would really love to invest more time, and remember, I'm saying more time in a world that everything is competing, but we can find a way.
I agree, and like you said, Ruby, I also had an experience where I had to ask a friend whether we are okay.
Tuko sawa
kweli, and you know, life happens, and I understand, and it doesn't really come from like a malicious place, like I want you to be combative. It won't happen. Why are you not talking to me?
Exactly.
It's just that I need to understand if there's any way like I've offended you, like if it's not my intention, I'd rather you know it was never my intention than you going through life thinking, oh, we left off this friendship on a bad stance. But now if they say no, we didn't, it's just life that's lifing, and I'm okay with that, because I know I understand life in life at sometimes.
I think for me, what I've also come to realize in this season of my life is also pray for your friendships. Pray for your friendships, because sometimes with life, you know, life is complex, and also friendships are also complex. You know, sometimes you're just not maybe on the same page, you know, for reasons sometimes that you cannot explain. Sometimes you don't understand, are we drifting apart? Sometimes you can feel there's just something that has changed in the atmosphere, and I can't quite put my finger on it. But I remember there's something that James Sexton talked about. He's this American lawyer. He's a divorce lawyer. Yeah, I've watched a couple of his videos, especially at A Diary of a CEO, you know. And what he said, because he's a divorce lawyer, he said that all marriages end. They end either in divorce or in death. And also to mean even in friendships and all relationships end. So they will either end in death, or they will end maybe now in breakups as opposed to divorce. So, and something I've been thinking about lately is that when it comes to human beings, especially human beings, and even the things of this world, is that you need to see them as an experience and not a possession. Like you cannot, you see, you cannot possess somebody. You only experience people. So I think even for me, I've just come to appreciate, you know, just people in my life and just experience them for the season that they are in my life, because I feel like what even pains us the most is what happens when the season of them leaving your life comes, you know. So if at all you're there just holding on to their life, you know, and it also means that you won't be able even to enjoy the present relationship or friendship, because you're always scared that things could go wrong anytime, you know. And also I've also come to realize that because there's this friendship I've been praying about, because I feel like there's a change, and I don't know how to move forward. I feel kind of clueless, you know, because I felt one time that we were really close, and right now I cannot say. And it also reminds me what Wanjiru said, that when it comes to friendships, you see, like there's the katikati, and then there are people who are in the inner circle, and there are people who are in the outer circle. So it's okay even for friends to move through. Maybe this season of our lives we are so close, maybe in another season that we are not as close. So that is also important for you to know. And also for me now, there's this book that I read. It's called A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And he said about like how having labels is very dangerous. It's a dangerous affair, putting labels on things. And you see now, when you maybe I say this somebody maybe is my best friend, or this somebody, I've put them in this, you know, box. So sometimes I expect you as Ruby, because I've put you in this box, that you need to behave in a certain kind of way. You need to come through to me in a certain kind of way. This is how our relation must be. And if inamaanisha if at all we don't have this going on for us, your relationship yetu imeisha, sasa sijui should we start unwinding and
friendship like that.
So nowadays, now I'm in a place where I'm no longer putting human beings in a box. I'm no longer putting my friendships in a box. I will let you be you. You know, whatever this season of our friendship is like, I allow it. And also this also brings to the conversation of even like I've had friends that 5 years, 3 years, and I'm like, the woman that I am, that I was 3 years ago, the woman that you were 3 years ago, we are not those women. So you cannot expect the friendship of now to be what it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Our realities,
let's talk about that.
Our realities were so different. Your needs that the needs that you had then is not the needs that you have now. So you need to allow your friendship to evolve and to keep up with the evolution of me as an individual, you as an individual, and our friendship as an entity, and knowing
adjusted or experienced. And I feel like that's such an important thing to talk about, because sometimes you hear people say that, imagine you used to show up this way, today you don't do that. But I also want us to extend grace and understand people are changing, people are growing, people are experiencing different things, and it's a bit unfair for you to want them to show up exactly the same way they used to show up. Because even for me as an individual, I've grown, you've grown, so we need to find a commonality that works, that doesn't make anybody else feel like they're inferior or they're an enemy, or now just because you don't do things the way you used to do, now this friendship is not working anymore. I feel like that's something that people need to pay way more attention to, and be present enough to know that that's a reality. I mean, even you, when you sit with yourself, the person you are in 2020 is not the person that you are in 2025. So why would you expect somebody else to be exactly the same way? I feel like there's room for speaking what's happening, there's room for adapting to what we are becoming, and there's room for, just as you said, appreciating that if in this season you're not here and Annie, but next season you are, that's okay.
It's okay. And also, even
there's no ill intention.
There's no malice.
There's nobody who's intentionally doing things to hurt you.
Yeah.
I feel like where we are as a society, there's always, even when you go on Twitter, you see a lot of people telling you, eka watu pali wamekuweka,
yeah, that's a way
we're operating, people are giving people other people manuals when all relationships are different. So ukianasikiza watu wa Twitter, you're always gonna be in it's not, your relationship is not what Twitter is saying. Your relationship is not what other people are saying. It's an individual and an individual who come together and decide that this is our friendship. We like each other, and to this extent we have these things in common, and we enjoy having each other as friends.
And I feel like in everything there'll be somebody there's a time we'll be picking 50-50. There's a time I'll be picking 70 and you're picking 30. There's a time maybe I'll be picking 100 and you're picking 0. And it's important to understand that. And if maybe you get to the point that you feel I'm picking a lot and you're not carrying your weight, it's also just the same way we could have the conversation. I mean, so far I'm feeling like I've been pulling weight, but you're not pulling. What's happening? Or what can I do to help? Or what are you experiencing that's making you feel that way?
And it's also okay for relationships to end. It's also okay for relationships to take a break.
It's okay. If
I'm the one who always, we are saying extend grace, but if I'm the one who always reaches out,
it becomes exhausting.
It's fine to pause. If you want to have a conversation, it's fine. We can have a conversation and decide that this is not something that's working anymore. I think the thing that we do, why even breakups with friendship breakups also hurt quite a bit, is because we don't give each other the same grace. You give a romantic.
Hey, you will forgive them.
I know, you will forgive them
previous mistakes.
You forgive them.
Forgiving.
Cutting you
off. I'm so upset.
And then now there's no uncoupling. You see how in a relationship there's also Ati will now talk about it to say no, it's not working anymore. Breakups Ati friendship breakups, and I think that's why they hurt a lot. Because there's also no conversation that is being had during the breakups, especially, and we don't extend the same grace to our friends that we extend maybe to our meaning our
put a lot of weight. And I appreciate that maybe it's because the friendships have been very deep, but in the same way that deepness that they had and that heaviness, I think it's important to just extend that grace. And it's true, even for us to sit in this table and admit we don't extend the same grace.
We don't know.
It's over, it's a wrap.
Cut off watu vizuri na makasi kubwa.
Kama zile za kufungua lounge ile ribbon cutting, hizo magazi za ribbon cutting.
You can't even work for gazeti. This person is no longer
My
a
friend, let the world
Wow.
know.
This person is not affiliated
In any way.
Wow.
In any way.
Yeah.
Cannot speak as a friend.
Yeah. And if there's something else I'm learning in this season of friendship, is the importance of vulnerability. Because let me tell you something, Maina. These friendships where you're always behaving like things are okay, they're okay, they're okay, they're okay, they're okay. It makes me feel like you don't even have, and sometimes these people are being fake. So I'm like, so I think it's okay to be vulnerable, in your friendships and being true in your friendships. Stop making things to be what they are not. Just be you and because when the moment that you're authentically you, I'm also able to be authentically me in these relationships. Because I feel like those friendships where you're pretending things are okay, I can see you really pretending, I can see you really putting up a show. It becomes very difficult for me to also connect with the individual.
And they blow up one day.
And I wonder why we struggle with vulnerability in friendships. I think we feel judged.
There's a book.
Do you feel judged?
I think for Brené Brown about vulnerability.
Because I've been in a situation where you don't even want to tell your friends, I went back to this guy.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about the things that are actually happening.
And something else that we need to talk about.
What's the thing?
Yeah. We struggle a lot.
I think it's a judgment, and maybe also the reality that they come with, and this is hard even in relationships or even in marriages, and sometimes you'll have conversations where people will say you will not be able to share with your family everything that you're going through, and simply just based on the fact that you love that person, they love them by extension. So if they do anything to you, you're willing to forgive based on that love connection, but they're not gonna be able to relate. They'll always remember ulifanyia msichana wetu hivi ama kijana wetu hivi. So I think in the same way, I think it's that fear of akikai. If this thing doesn't work, and they had said, I told you so, we'll just be there thinking each other. But I think maybe it's a call for even us as friends in different groups to be open or vulnerable enough to tell guys, listen, yes, we know that when everybody's getting into a relationship, we are trying, and please always know that I'm a safe space. I'm someone who you can come to tell me. And yes, if I see maybe a red flag, I could say, I'm hapo nimeshuku kidogo, but I'm not going to just be there to hit hard on it. It won't work because I also don't really know. I'll just give advice based on maybe my experience and what I'm seeing, because it's also good for an outsider to look in. Because sometimes, love is an interesting thing. You could be stupidly in love and you're not seeing red flags. I remember they said people like it's so red. Afterwards, when you're wondering, how did I miss this? How did I miss this? And your friends are telling you. Sometimes that friend is going to be able to call it out. And maybe there's also an element where somewhere deep down we know something about this thing is not so right.
It's not right.
Actually,
but one of my friends actually told me,
maybe there's a change. Maybe something will be different.
One of my friends told me that when she realized she couldn't tell like her closest friends, what was happening in her relationship, that's when she knew something is wrong. Like I can't even tell you like this is how I'm feeling, and now I'm coming to a meetup. Now I'm sad. I can't even tell you.
I can't tell you why I'm sad.
Exactly what has happened. That's when you start now clocking. Like easy, you're picking this up.
Yes.
It's
true. I've also come to realize that it's also important to show gratitude even in your friendship. So I tell my friends I love you.
Me
I
too.
tell them I miss you. I send voice notes. So like it's very important. Even the time that I'm thinking, positive thoughts about them, or just see how resilient maybe they have been. Sometimes you wake up maybe thinking about a particular person, and then I remember there's this time that I was thinking about my friend Juliet, because we are friends, and the thought that came to me in mind is what Juliet is. When I think about Juliet, I feel so I was like, I feel like gratitude towards this friendship, from the far that we've come from. When I think about Juliet, I think about, how resilient that she has been, how like she has always had a heart, or a golden heart, that that this is somebody I can count on, and I can come to them with anything and everything. That so even for you, even when you have those positive thoughts, when you're in a place of appreciating like your friends, it is don't stay with the thank yous in your head. Verbalize them. Maybe that is what they needed to hear that particular day. It reminds me about the power of gratitude that you said.
And it's interesting for me. That's one thing I've practiced a lot recently. Like if I think about you and I just feel a certain message, I'll always share it with you. And most of the times you find, and even for me, my friends will share, and most of the times you'll find that person just needed that at that exact moment, because they were either, you know, at a place where they were doubting, or they were thinking, or they were just feeling like, I don't know, something is just not right, and they needed just someone to remind them who they are and how they show up, or how amazing they are, or just that you love them. Because it's so reassuring to know that somebody loves you, somebody cares for you. And I like what you said. For me, you know, audios are a big thing for some of my friends. Well, those who can listen to audio, some will be like, "Apana mimi wakusoma message type," but I'm really good at audios. I'm really good at typing. I am happy to call. I'm interesting. By the way, I have noted what my friends like, and I try and allow for each one of them for that to be the thing that we do. And I completely agree. When you think about somebody, you know, when you pray for them, when you just get this nudge to do whatever, please do it, because there's something powerful about just sharing and reminding them who they are and how they show up, or how amazing they are. If it's a season of praying for them, please pray for them diligently. There's something so powerful about praying for your friends. In seasons when they can't pray, when you're praying for them, you're standing in the gap. So whatever you can do to support your friends, please do it. It's such a fantastic thing. If you're my friend, please send me all those. When you think about me, send me a message, send me a voice note. Oh, you don't know how much they mean.
So I have 2 questions before we go to our parting shots. How do you resolve conflicts in friendships, in female friendships with your sisters? Yeah, when you know maybe something is not going right, how do you go about it? When you realize that our seasons of being together, of these friendships, of this partnership has come to an end, how do you go about conflict resolution when it comes to our sisters and our female friends? Or how have you been dealing?
Me, my personality is to run away from conflict. Me, I hear the word conflict, I turn left and go quickly. I'm very conflict averse as well. So I'm just like, me sijui, such to do sijui. But I mean, one of the things that I've learned is and maybe I will not approach it in the younger Ruby, maybe in her 20s, would have hit the ground running. I'm happy to have a show off and loud mouth and scream and shout and yell. But who I am today, I'm still very conflict averse, but I usually try and think through, you know, that thing that you're told, like in your relationship, when you want to say something that's a pain point to start with, by the way, I'm so grateful for, then you go to like, kuna ka issue nataka to address. So usually I will kind of take that type of approach. But one of my longest and fondest relationships called me out on something the other day, and I was like, wow. Nice. I was like, ouch, but really, really cool. And it's interesting because I can call them out as well. And I mean, I will use the software. We meet in London. Kwanza ndo nirudi hapo nirudi.
And I think there's integrity
I am,
and kindness in that.
Yes,
truths don't have to be brutal.
And I also don't. And
it can be. You need to know how to deliver hard truth without being brutal.
I won't attack you and make you feel like now I'm ripping off every band-aid and I'm just screaming and yelling. But I will definitely look for a way to navigate, especially because I've learned that my feelings are valid.
They are.
Yeah, and it's important for me to share them with you, because sometimes I might be perceiving a thing in one way, and you might give me perspective that will make me realize, hey, yeah, even me maybe in a place I was faulting, and I think that level of friendship, of willing to get into conflicts to continue to maintain that relationship, it just goes to show how much more you care. Because you can throw your hands and be like, actually, this is not that serious. Talk about it, it's fine. So I think that more people need to appreciate that the reasons we get into conflicts is because we care that much more. Because if somebody didn't care for you,
they'd be happy to leave it.
I'm like, actually, we can just let that one fizzle out, and it's fine. But
I feel the best time to resolve a conflict is to have that conversation prior. This means that, right now, your friends' love languages, if they love receiving gifts, that they love, if it's spending quality time with them. But then we never have the conversation of, should we kosana? Should we butt heads? How would you want us to resolve this issue? So that
my friends, nakuja na swali.
Because it makes the situation even worse, because you don't know how to handle somebody in a conflict, and you still need to retain that friendship. So even before you go into the friendship, you need to have that hard conversation of like, when you're conflicting, how would you like us, how to handle the situation? So I'd be like, me, if I told you you're having an issue with me, this is how I'd like this to be handled, so that you're not there yelling on top of your voice, and me, I do not respond to
what's happening.
Maybe you're now triggered with how your mother used to yell at you. So have the conflict conversation before the actual conflict happens.
So for me, I'll never have a screaming match with a friend. That is not me, my personality. I'll never, first of all, because I'm very conflict averse. Me, I hate conflict. I run away from
Even me, I'm like,
can we just and I've seen how I resolve conflict like with my friends. It's just I'll send a long text explaining to if it's now if I'm the one on the wrong, and this is how I made you feel, this is how you made me feel. Maybe on text I'm very shameless. Maybe if you
go for the jugular.
I'm very shameless.
You're coming for blood.
I will tell you exactly how you've hurt me, exactly what that made me feel, exactly how I need to go on with the situation, how we can resolve it. And then if you text me back, if you want to talk about it, I need to get it out before we meet. Not that we're going to have a screaming match. It's just that sometimes I don't know how to articulate myself in a way that I will feel hard. But if I write it down, I'm going to be able to put everything I feel in a text. And I found myself sending quite a few texts. It's very embarrassing if they come out.
I've also come to realize that for me, when it comes to especially conflict resolution, I prefer to do it in person. I feel like there's a level of aggression that you can do on voice notes. There's a level of aggression that you can do pale, you're typing. So I feel for me, like, even for the conflicts that I've had, there are very many times I was like, I wish I did this in person. And sometimes, even when it comes to conflict, sometimes in your head, it's such a big mountain. This is the end of the world. But now when you actually have that conversation with somebody, you find that it wasn't maybe as big as you thought, because I feel like sometimes your mind can just extrapolate things.
So that's interesting. So for me, I'm kind of the people who talk and think at the same time. So that is risky when you're doing it face front, because number one, there are things I'll say that wasn't the intention to say initially, and then number two, there are so many things that have been like, but I had practiced. I should have said. But now I missed it because the hit was coming quickly, and you said. Then I forgot my initial point, and now I'm responding to what you said, and now
it's in person. I remember when I'm in the shower. No,
exactly. So actually, most of my conflicts when I create the initial script, I'm in the shower. You could execute. Things change very quickly. So one of the things I'm trying to do now is write them down or jot them to myself on WhatsApp, so that when I sit with you, we can go. But if I feel like any point number 7 had to tackle, let's come back to it, just so that
I think I've done that.
Because my mind sometimes, and I like what Wambo said, and I think it's just off what you shared as well about finding out how they like to resolve conflict. I think moving forward, one of the things I would do is, number one, find out how they want to resolve conflict, and also figure myself out such that if I could send you a message and you already know that I will first send the text, then we will find a place to sit and
just
talk,
have a conversation.
It makes it sensible.
And then I want to clarify that even when I'm sending a text, it's not coming from a malicious point. Even though I'm the one who has been hurt, when I'm sending a text, I don't write it down then send.
You sleep on it.
I sleep on it. I'll send it to myself first, read it, see if I've communicated what I need to communicate, and then send it out. Because at the end of the day, you still love your friend. Conflict happens, but it's the way you handle it that will either make or break your relationship. So you have to remember at the back of it, this is not your enemy. You guys are friends. Mistakes happen, things happen. But
I think you also need to fight knowing that this is a person that you love, and this is not your mortal enemy.
You're fighting from the same team. You're fighting as
team.
teammates. We're in one team. We are not apart. We are fighting from being one team.
I agree.
So my other question now on conflict is, now we have established that there is no moving forward in this friendship. Now we are at the dissolving stage of this friendship. How do you have that conversation, or how do you move through that conversation? Because I found in my situation that when it comes to friendships that I need to end or relationship that I need to end, like for me, I really sit on that. By the time I know that there's nothing here, to the time that now things are maybe being communicated, or things now are falling apart, or now we are not in each other's lives, what I've come to realize that for me, when it comes to that kind of conversation, or even into that kind of friendship, is sometimes I will sit on it just to know, I feel like sometimes when you decide, it's even maybe when you're resigning from work, you really need to be sure that maneno ya huyo employer umemalizana. You can't just come and then like, oh, by the way, so I think for me, I really sit on it for a hot minute, and then when I know now in my soul, in my spirit, that I've maybe tried everything that I need to do to keep this, and things are not working out. So I think for me, my problem is that sometimes, if at all I know that our season has ended, but I don't know whether there's another season to come. I allow things to fizzle out, so that I'm not like burning this bridge completely. Maybe in this season, as we are in our lives, maybe we need to hit pause, we need to hit, and maybe in the future, I'd be maybe open to maybe rekindle things. But unless maybe it was maybe those things of this one are minor negotiable, and this was a point of malice, ata tumerabiana my friends, so sometimes I like allow things to fizzle out, only maybe because maybe in the future, maybe it's our season of hitting pause, and maybe we have a second chance in the future. Or I've also ghosted people, so
mine is actually very, very simple.
that's something that we are tackling. There was no conversation that was had, and then you block them.
Even me, I don't think I've ever had.
It just fizzles out.
So maybe it's a pause, maybe it's a stop, maybe it's, but actually kusema ukweli hata mimi I just fizzle out. I don't think I've had any conversation where I've said
it's
done. Just fizzle out.
I don't think I've done that. Mine is just ghosting actually.
And letting things fizzle out. And hey, as in even before I go to my other question, it was how, and this is something that now, given the fact hizi miaka mingi niko nazo, is a new dynamic, let me not call it a challenge, that is happening as at now. Like, how do you deal with friendships? How do you deal with friendships where now you are in different phases of your life? Like maybe you're here in your job, it's paying you 100,000, your friend, now they are at 1 million. So it means that even the places that you're visiting is not the same. Maybe your friends now, maybe they're having kids, they are married, you're here, you're single and childless or child-free, dependent, on how you identify. So like we can't have conversation about motherhood, I am not a mother. We cannot talk about marriage, I am not married. We can't, and sometimes now you feel like because of the seasons of life, now you become like kind of alienated, and now you're kind of trying to figure out what is this thing that will keep us together, because now I feel like now we are like two people in different planets. So that is my second last question.
Well, yes, I have had friends in different phases. And I think it's not, it's how the two of you will carry the dynamic. So I think we have allowed ourselves to share about wherever the person is. And like for me, in most of, well, not most, but a couple of my friendships, I'm the mom and the other person is not a mom. But we've always like had conversations, and we'll talk about the kids a little bit. We'll talk about them now and what is hot in their cup. Maybe it's their career and it's really taken off and they're making all this bank and they want to do this and they want to do that. But I feel for me that the friendship is not sustained just simply because we are all in the same space. Not necessarily. I think there's room for us to be in different phases and still be able to be friends. And one of the things that I've seen that I've really appreciated and I would love to do is I've had friends who in capacities, let's say financially, and want to do something and I'm not in a space where I can afford to, have extended grace and covered that. And I always say I want to be that person to somebody else as well. I've had places where I've gone and had a meal or hung out or even traveled and somebody has paid the full bill because of the level of friendship. And it's definitely something that I would also want to give back or push forward, because we can be in a space where money is not anything to you. Like you're not struggling with money, but for me, I'm struggling with money. But it doesn't mean that now our friendship will not make sense. We just need to find a dynamic that works for both of us. And I'm not saying misuse or abuse. I'm just saying we find a way that works. So if I'm your friend and I know that I'm earning $1 million and I can afford to go to a restaurant that's charging 10,000, but I know you don't have capacity. It takes either figuring, maybe I can do my budget and see, you know what, I can actually be able to afford to pay for both of us and we can enjoy the experience together. Or we can say, where can you, what do you have, I'll top up and we figure it out. But I think it's being looking at it from who is strong in what and who's struggling with what and how do we bring it together. And you know what, if it also means we can meet in your house and have food, we can also do that. So there's no issue. There's absolutely no issue.
I think we've talked about extending grace a lot today. I think it's because it's very, very important in friendships. So if you're indifferent, as long as you're not making the other person feel, if you're the one inferior, I think friendships can work when you're in different seasons of your lives. Especially because if you did not bond over the fact that you're in the same level, your friendships, even if you did bond by the fact that you're in the same level, sometimes you usually bond because of a bad was, and then you're working together, and after you move on to different parts of your life. But you can find synchronicities in your experiences where now it makes sense to be friends away from where we met.
And considerations. Like one of the things, me being a mom and having friends who are not mothers or someone who's struggling maybe to get a child, one of the things I've learned to teach myself is not to talk about my children too much. And let me tell you, as mothers, sometimes we get caught up, and we can go on and on and on for a whole day. So these days I catch myself, I'm like, Ruby, is that considerate? Is that a topic that you should be talking about? And if it isn't, let's talk about everything else.
I think consideration actually
is the greatest form of love.
Consideration is the greatest form of love. And it applies in friendships. I think it's very important.
My final question. We've been here for a hot minute. What do you think about juggling friendships with money, friendship with business? Is this something that you'd consider, friends who they've cosanad because they went into business together, friends who became closer together because they were in business together, money lending, like what are your thoughts when it comes to friendships and money?
Money and business. One rule I live by, I don't lend my friends money that I am not ready to lose, because I'm not about to lose friends over money. That's one thing I know I'm not about to do, and maybe it's because we haven't gotten to a point where we're lending each other millions. But even now in the small lendings that I do,
the 10,000, the 5,000,
I will not lend my friend money that I'm not ready to lose. And it's not just that. And I think I'm very fortunate that my friends honor me and honor that I've given you money and you're gonna return it. So even if I'm giving you, I don't feel anxiety. I know it will come back in one way or another. And I don't even need to push you. Even if you tell me I'm gonna send it next week and you don't send it next week, I don't need to push you, because I know the kind of friendships we have, you're still gonna get me back. You're still gonna handle it. And I've been in a position where I've been the one who's asking for money, and I've been the one who's returning, and I've been the one maybe not able to return at the time where I had said I'd return, and my friends also extended the same grace. So it's just that understanding that we are not about to
end the
friendship over money, and I'm not about to lend you money that I am not ready to lose. And most of my friends know my financial situation, so even if you ask me for 50K today, that's a lot of money. That's a lot to me. That's a lot of money. I cannot lose it. So nikikupatia 50K, where do utarudisha? If you ask me for 10K and you cannot return it immediately, that's fine. But if you ask me for 50K and you're not returning it when you need to return it, now that you know Palima, you know where my shoe
pinches.
Yeah.
I feel like when it comes to money, sometimes it's not about the money. Because let's say I've lent you money and then you've said that you're going to return it to me and then you never return it to me. So it's a feeling of, I feel like you're taking advantage of me, you're playing me, you're disrespecting me in one way or another. So I feel like sometimes when it comes to money matters, or kune wengine, they will utawakopesha pesa, and now they're behaving like there's no money in the picture. It's the business as usual, and that is neither here nor there. You understand? Ama now you have maybe to keep asking, and now you're a beggar for the money that you gave somebody else. So I feel like now that could be a dicey situation.
If you're playing in my face clearly, like you're not having money, but when we go out, I'm seeing you spend thousands and thousands, or like you're buying things that. If I lent you money, now you're buying a new TV. Let's be good. And then you've not returned the money, and you've not returned the money at the time that you told me. Or now you're not even picking my calls or even
because I feel like it's that the underneath, you know.
It's actually genuinely not even about the money. It's actually how
the behavior,
how you honor our friendship. If you have the money and you don't want to return it, now that's a problem. If you are not picking my call, that's a problem. If I have a problem with the money and I know you have it and you're not giving it to me, returning it to me, now that's a problem. It's actually never about the money, it's about the principle.
It's the principle that's they see.
You guys have covered it. Nothing to add. Maybe what I would speak into is friendships and business. Like I think the one thing about business, whether you go into it with a venture capitalist or you go into it with a friend or you go into it with a stranger, the one thing about business is you need to what is it called? You need to list down the rules, because the reality of running business is it's high pressure and it's a lot to be done, and everybody is expected to carry a certain load. So I think even in friendship, just do the exact same thing. Be very clear about who does what. If possible, write it down. Get a lawyer, get a good document that clearly shows. Just the same way you've said, we're not willing to lose this friendship over money. Let's also be clear that we're not willing to lose this friendship over business. So if we're going to be business partners, as business partners, this is what we are expected to do. We still continue to be friends in our own capacity, but we need to know that when we show up for the business, this is how we are showing up and we are clear who's doing what.
This has been a wonderful conversation. I didn't even think that this was the trajectory that it could have taken, but it has taught me a lot about friendships and even just seeing it from a different POV. So thank you for having this conversation with me and sharing openly and vulnerably. So thank you for joining us. So even for you seated at home or wherever you're listening to this podcast at, kindly share with you about your friendship dynamic. How have you been, going about challenges? Have you lost friendships because of business or because of finances? We are happy to hear your feedback on that. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel and follow us on our social media platform, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and subscribe down here.